There it is, my man. How's it going?
We're good. Here we go again with the tech.
It worked. It worked, man. It worked the first time for me. You look like you're lost over there, though. So
It's
just kind of wondering.
it's on. Oh, here we go. We're delayed.
You're coming through just fine, unless I'm not coming through fine for you. Uh-oh. Are you frozen? Nope, you're not frozen. You're good, man. You're good.
No, it's not.
Uh-oh. If you want to jump off and jump back in,
Yeah.
unless it's me.
Yeah, let me jump off and back in.
All right. All right. Okay, guys. As usual, technical issues. This is the problem with, I suppose, with all this newfangled stuff. But anyway, welcome to the podcast. If you're joining us from YouTube, welcome to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll wait for Ken to jump back in here, but I guess real quickly, I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like I've been beat up this week just from all this election stuff. It's been driving me nuts. There he is. He's coming back in now. I don't know what happened there, but that was interesting.
I don't know. It picked up. We're both Jeff Coffman today too on the
sweet.
Is that better? I don't know what the hell was going on. It's all good. I think the problem is now solved though. So.
Oh, look at this. I can edit your name here. Let's do that.
All right. Anyway, welcome.
All right.
Welcome to today's podcast. It is Friday. And you know, this is, although it's day 8, just for the record, it's day 8 of the month-long celebration of my birth. Tomorrow happens to actually be the day of the birth. So getting closer and closer.
All right. Well, what do you have? You got any plans for your birthday, by the way?
We're actually doing a Friendsgiving with like the group people we take travel vacations with and stuff that we worked with in a previous life, right? The 9-to-5 gig. And so we're doing a Friendsgiving. I'm not quite sure what Friendsgiving is. It sounds like it's some other made up contrived bullshit, kind of like Valentine's Day, but whatever. It'll all be good. I haven't seen some of them in a while. So
is it like this? Is it like trunk or treat? You seen this? This trunk or treat thing, me and my wife, we bought, I don't know, probably not a lot. We went out and got like $30 worth of candy garbage, and we had 2 people show up. It was one knock on the door, but there were only 2 kids. There's no kids around. They're not walking around doing this anymore. It's wild, man. And then somebody brought up to me, well, yeah, it's because they're doing this trunk or treat thing where they go out in a parking lot and people open up their trunks. I'm like, what kind of fun is that? Like, I was terrorizing the neighborhood when I was a kid, man. I mean, it's nuts. I don't get it. Taking all the joy away.
I know. But there's no joy in being a kid anymore, and they're so damn stressed. It's unbelievable. They get bombarded by just complete nonsense all over the place.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I've already done the welcoming.
Oh, excellent.
The welcome thing. So, but yeah, I think I started down the path of just, I feel like this week I've just been beaten about the head, neck, breast, back, and it's just been an awful week, and this election stuff is just, I don't know, man. It's just so tiring.
Can I just do a?
Yeah, I know.
Thank God that shit's over.
Yeah.
You can't hardly take it. You wonder why people are so pissed off all the time. It's because they have to see the same goddamn ads over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah, it's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty shameful. And
It's
by the way, nobody believes on either side. Nobody believes a word that's being said on in any of those ads. Like
right.
nobody
Nobody
can
has any
truly
credibility.
believe that stuff. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Especially the
Well,
clown show that's currently in power. I mean, good God.
yeah,
They've had 4 years to get the shit straight, but I promise we're going to get it straight. Okay. Come on, man.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty amazing. I don't know. I do believe though. I do believe this with all my heart that I do believe this was the final straw for this big mainstream media machine. It has to be. Like, I'm sure there'll be like some little factions of it, but there's just no way. I don't know about you. I did not watch one of those shows at
Oh,
all.
God, no.
It was all podcasts. It was all all online media, and I don't know. I just feel like I think like that's the final straw. They're just it's the same talking points over and over and over again. People are sick of it. So
Yeah.
I do really enjoy the long form types of podcasts and stuff like that. I
It's, it's exhausted. And one of my favorite things, not to get too political too, but I mean, I know that there are, I mean, honestly, there's like almost two different Americas now. There's like completely
for
two
sure.
different worldviews about what's going on here, and they're so diametrically opposed. Like I don't even know how that happened. Like I turn 51 tomorrow, and I can't figure out how that happened. Like I've watched it happen,
Yeah.
like, but I can't quite figure out why it's so diametrically opposed. But regardless, I mean, Trump was in office for 4 years previously. And okay, I get people hate the guy. I get it. But did he round people up in the first 4 years? Did he open these like why do we think that didn't happen in the first 4 years? Why
Right.
would it happen now all of a sudden? Did you think
Yeah.
now he may go on a retribution tour, and the guy's been pretty persecuted. Let's be honest. I mean, we can all probably pretty agree on that. Whether you think it's justified or not justified, the guy's been pretty damn persecuted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I still actually the very first time that I actually listened to what that man had to say was I listened to when he would. I just happened to have the podcast on. I wasn't even looking for,
Oh, look at
but
you.
but I'll tell you what. That's the first time I just cannot listen to that guy talk. I can't. I haven't been able to make it through like one of his speeches. It's just like
Yeah, I
I
don't
will
know.
tell you, I can probably get a little bit further through with him than I could, Bumble Brain over there. But man, I'm so detached from a lot of that. So basically, what we're telling you is that this is Ken's podcast today.
This is
You
no,
got,
it's not just therapeutic. We actually have a point too. So sorry, we had to talk about the election's over,
yeah,
right? So the election's over, and so we thought it would be a good time, as you probably mentioned while I was reconnecting, that we're gonna say, okay, what do you think? We're gonna look in Jeff and Ken's Sub Two Empire crystal ball a little bit and think, okay, what does this mean moving forward for your business, like specifically as a real estate investor? And so there's lots of things going on here. First and foremost, right? Um, let's take a step back and remember prior to COVID. Okay, prior to COVID, that was a unique deal, whatever. From an economy perspective, prior to that, the U.S. economy was one of the best it's been in GDP, production, all that stuff. The facts are undeniable. Like you can go look those facts up. That's true. Prior to COVID. And so that was Trump. That was Trump's first presidency that did that. Okay. So there's a lot of optimism out in the markets right now. Like the stock market was up, what, 3 or 4% the day after the election,
mhm,
something like that. I think it's going up. The reason for that is because there's a track record, right, of how the economy performed when Trump was president previously. So in anticipation of that, that's why we're seeing all this market upturn, which probably won't last. Like, I mean, it's just a reaction, right?
right,
It's just a reaction to what happened. But there is a track record there that people are going by, like the markets, the soothsayers and with your mutual funds and the stock market and all that crap, right? So just want to reset that a little bit about why all that's going on. All right.
yeah.
So
I have to tell you, as far as and I don't want to get into the politics of it either. But I'm actually more excited to watch who this guy surrounds himself with. That's what I'm like. He already made that. His chief of staff. I thought it was a. I mean, if I'm being honest, I thought it was really, really cool that he selected a woman. From that, I just wonder. I mean, it was just awesome. I just think I don't know. I think if you're going to start off somewhere and you want to kind of put the naysayers in their place. That's your first move, right? Is to do exactly what they say you're guilty of, and so I thought that was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
I'm just excited about who he's surrounded. I don't know. I never don't know the history of RFK all that well, RFK Jr. But I am excited about the health, the idea of, and if you really think about this, you know we live in the most unhealthy country on the planet,
Yes.
despite being the wealthiest country on the planet. And I just think that the prospect of RFK coming in there and just cleaning that side of the house is very intriguing to me. Whether that happens, I don't know, but it is. Of course, I'm probably saying this now because I'm on this big health kick. I've dropped weight. I've been doing CrossFit now for 6 months, and I feel great. So maybe that's my maybe it's my short term or my short term memory speaking right now. But I am excited about the prospect of seeing who he's around. And you say whatever you want about Elon Musk, but if that dude isn't a part of this, then we've that's a big mistake. But yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a minute. And this goes, the government as it exists now, we can all agree is broken. It's a bureaucracy that's out of control. And so the question is how do you fix that?
Right.
Okay. So there's differing opinions on that. But the first step, as you mentioned, though, is not only to have good policies as it relates to the economy and stuff that we'll talk about here, which clearly Trump did in his first term, right? So he knows good policy as it relates to the economy, but he has to have good personnel too to carry out the policy. Because I think a major issue he was surprised at, and I think he's even admitted that, although I don't watch his speeches either, but I think he even admitted this, like he was shocked at the depth of, we'll just call it corruption, the depth of corruption that exists, right? Mm-hmm. So just me and my group need to profit from this, and we don't give a shit about anybody else. That's what we mean by the government being broke. So I don't know that in 4 years or even Trump can actually fix that problem, but I do think him choosing good personnel, like you mentioned, RFK, to fix some of this food and drug issue, it goes a long way to making things go right. The question is, can you sustain that? Because if you're switching over this philosophy every 4 years, between the socialist Democrats and the supposedly conservative Republicans. I don't even know that you call them true Republicans anymore. But if you're constantly flipping this over, are you really ever getting anything done? And that's the whole problem.
I think it all starts in this case. I think it all starts with transparency and really just spilling the beans. I watched the thing with Kash Patel the other day, and man, I am on that guy's team. Like that guy. He's talking about they're talking about naming him, or there's been rumored that he has a shot at the CIA director position. And dude, if that happened, oh my gosh, that guy is just, because he's pissed off anyway. He's very pissed off, and I don't know. I think it all starts with really just kind of getting it all out, like getting creating transparency, and there's really no turning back once you do that. You kind of have to answer to that.
Yep.
And so I think, I don't know, hopefully they have the integrity to do that. Hopefully they have the integrity to really, hopefully they really have the integrity to just be transparent about all the goings on inside our bureaucracies. So
we'll see.
Anyway,
what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens. The other thing too. So let's first let's take interest rates. Right? Interest rates and mortgage rates. And so if you're not aware, the Federal Reserve cut the prime interest rate by 0.25, 25 basis points yesterday. Okay. So there's been another Fed rate decrease. What does that mean? That should mean that the mortgage rates will drop slightly, just as they did with the last rate cut, probably. May take a
eventually.
little, yeah, it may take a little lag before that has, but it was interesting that the Fed did that. Like the Fed, the current chairman of the Fed is not exactly a, we'll just say he's not a Republican. So we'll leave it at that. But they did lower the interest rates, which I thought was interesting yesterday. So that's going to trigger. And now that the election's over, good God, thankfully the election's over, right? A lot of people that were on the sidelines from a real estate market standpoint, a lot of buyers that were sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what the hell happened, now have an answer. And not only did they wait to see what happens, now they know their mortgage rates are going down. And there'll probably be more Fed prime cuts coming up maybe at the beginning of 2025. So that means these buyers are going to be, especially first-time home buyers, maybe getting back in the game, man. Maybe getting back in the game because rental prices have increased a lot. At least we're in the St. Louis metro area, definitely here in the St. Louis metro area, even more so across the country. And now it's getting back, even though the interest rates are higher than they used to be, it's still cheaper than renting in a lot of places. So these people are going to get back in the game.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, I yours truly. I was asked this question. I don't know. This has got to be 3 months ago at least. But this is we were asked. We were talking about ahead of the elections and everything. What do you think is going to happen with the housing market? And I was like, well, I don't. Regardless of who takes office, whatever. I still think that we have, and I think you brought some. You started, or you looked up some statistics prior to us even jumping on this call. But we have still a very, very low inventory of available housing available on the market right now. But I still do believe that if we get interest rates that drop a point, I think 2022 is going to look like it's going to look like nothing happened in 2022. When we had all the crazy buying, the insane elevated pricing in the housing markets. But I think if we drop a point, then I just can't see. I don't know. I can't see housing prices going down. If we drop a point, I think we're just going to have such an even greater demand. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me share my screen. You're right. I was looking up a few statistics. So the economy hasn't been the greatest. Like inflation's been high. Like everybody knows this. I mean, we're not saying anything that you don't feel. The price of eggs is up 75% over the last 3 years.
That means we have a great economy.
So I know. And can you believe any statistic that's being given to you by the government who lies to your face? So anyway, these statistics here, though, I'm a real estate agent in the St. Louis metro area, and so in the MLS, this is statistics from our local MLS here too. And so these are properties. It might be a little hard to see too, but just to kind of give you a feel for what we're talking about here. This is properties that are between 167,000 and 275 to 74,999 in the St. Louis markets, right? And so this goes back to January 2021, and this goes to now. And this is just the sheer number of homes for sale in this price range. And you can see the fluctuation, right? There's seasonal fluctuations and all that too. And we're here. So this was for October, right? So in October, their active properties were 2,191 in this particular price range. And I can tell you that in the St. Louis MLS, even going back this far, extremely low inventory right here.
Very low. Yep.
Very low inventory. And so if you can see that, the homes for sale there, and then the month supply. So there are just over 2 months supply on there now too. This is definitely a seller's market, right? And this goes to what we were saying, like a lot of buyers were sitting around waiting to see what happens. it's the fall, right? So there's a seasonal lull, as there always is with real estate stuff in the fall, going into the fall and winter. But we anticipate, I definitely believe and anticipate that this is going to change drastically heading into 2025, especially the spring selling season. Like you're going to see some people that have been sitting on the sidelines, like even sellers, like coming in there, and buyers are going to be coming in for sure, right? Buyers are going to be coming in for sure. So I think we're going to see a lot of this data change drastically. And you know, as you can see these peaks, and actually there's more on the market now than there has been that you can see, right, over the last 3 years. So it's actually spiking higher than it was previously. So we'll see what happens with that. But I definitely think that the market is going to be not the feeding frenzy I think that you mentioned, right? Not the feeding frenzy it was a couple of years ago, but it's definitely going to get strong, I think, going into the spring. What do you think, Mr. Kaufman?
Yeah, I don't know about the feeding frenzy part of it. I mean, I have no way of knowing that, but I just believe that um, you think about we're either going to have one or two things. We're going to have these people that got it in these higher interest rates. We're going to see a ton of refinance, a ton of refis out there. Um, but with 2.5 months of inventory, that's nothing.
It's
That is
nothing.
nothing. We used to have. I mean, when I first got into this, we would have 6 months of inventory
Oh
sitting
yeah,
there.
easy. 6 to 8 months for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, this is still. Do I say it's a crisis? Like, or I don't know what you would call that, but we are sitting at such low inventories even after all the craziness that went on in 2021 and 2022. I just can't see. I think, and I'm sticking to my guns, man. I just think I think what's going to spur that buying frenzy again, if I can even call it a frenzy, is it's just going to take these people, like you said, have just been sitting on the sidelines waiting for an interest rate drop. As
Mhm.
soon as that interest rate drops and they start doing those calculations and they realize that this is now affordable, now they can afford a home, it's going to be over with, man. We're going to be, I don't know, I just think our inventory is going to decline to who knows where, but it's definitely going to decline. It will definitely decline,
And the
which is going to send those
interestingly
prices up.
enough, yeah, this closed sales that you see here, I switched it to closed sales. Like you can see here back in June 2021, in this price range, right? This is just a snapshot of the price range, but there were 1,851 closed sales in June 2021, and in October 2024 there were 1,004. That is a big difference, right? So this is what we mean by, we think a lot of people have been waiting to see what happens, right? Waiting to exhale, right? Remember the movie? We've been waiting to see what happens, and now people are going to start getting in the game. And the Fed interest rate cut, and we anticipate that continuing in 2025. Man, it's fixing to be a strong market in the spring. So
Yeah.
we'll see what
So
happens.
let's translate this. So what does this mean for us for real estate investors?
Yeah.
Let's kind of talk about that. You know, I'm a buy and hold guy. Uh, so with the activity and the movement that we're kind of predicting here that we think we're gonna see, it's gonna be a little bit tougher for guys like me to pick up really good deals, obviously because of I think the higher prices. Um, but also this might actually influence some of you folks out there who maybe do a couple of flips a year or something. Like that's what I do. I don't do my business is I don't run a flipping business. I do like to do flips. I think they're enjoyable. I've said it many times, I'll probably always have one going. I just like the process of doing that. But uh, a lot of people caught on to this over the past couple of years, but it's shifting. It's a shift in that business model where maybe you start thinking about flipping some properties. I mean, there's
Mhm.
such a high demand. It only makes sense that you would kind of uh, follow the path of that you're being led down, which is essentially a housing shortage. That's has no end in sight at this point. And so maybe it might be a good idea to really start polishing up your skills on flipping properties. And
Yep.
that doesn't necessarily have to be, doesn't even necessarily, it kind of opens up doors too to maybe some wholetailing, doing some wholetailing or some wholesaling. Not saying you have to do retail flips or anything like that. What I'm saying is, if you can pick up a property at a decent price, and quickly turn it around and turn it over, I believe you're going to have the buyers for that. I think that's going to be for the foreseeable future. I think you're going to find, you're not going to have a problem finding buyers for those types of deals. And certainly, if you're a buy and hold person like I am, and you can pick up a decent subject to deal, and again, I know, Ken, I know you kind of like to have a little bit more of a margin in a subject to deal as far as equity is concerned. But if I can pick up a subject to deal and turn around and seller finance that deal, I mean, that is a no brainer for me right now, because I know I'm going to have a buyer for it. I know it. I'm not even concerned with it. It doesn't matter. I mean, unless you're buying in such a shitty area that just doesn't support your business model. If it's a seller finance model, I just don't see an end in finding qualified buyers for these properties. So,
For sure.
Anyway, that's my take on it.
Yep. Well, I 100% agree with the it's going to be it's going to be a good market for like the standard traditional type of flipping. I do believe that's true. In fact, we on the coaching call yesterday, we were just talking about that. One of our students is probably going to make six figures, clear over $100,000 on a flip, straight flip, just because of the way the market is now, and he picked it up right. He bought it right, and he managed the rehab right, and that's great. And there could be some opportunities like that going into such a strong market, especially if all this comes to fruition. Because if there's a lot of buyers that come into the market, right, and there's no inventory, guess what, right? You rehab the house, and now you put more inventory out there. So that's what that's what people are looking for, especially if the price is right, the interest rate's right, as you mentioned, Mr. Coffman. So, yeah, it might be time to think about doing a couple of those, or and if that's not your business model, that's totally fine. But it's definitely going to be. We're anticipating a market going into the spring that's definitely going to be conducive to to maximizing flip profit potential.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably, rents are at an all-time high. And if that's your model, if you want to pick up properties, preferably creatively, that's always going to be my little caveat.
Yeah.
But if you pick up properties and you're renting them out, I think you're going to be fine as well. I mean, the rents are not going down. I almost guarantee you they're not going down.
Right.
They're probably going to stay where they're at or even increase, which is kind of scary to think about, because it's insane right now, what rents are, even here in cash flow heaven.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think all in all, from my perspective, being a seller finance type of guy, I just see no hurdles coming up in the near future. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yep.
So, also, let's talk about real quick. There was some noise out there at some point about taxing unrealized capital gains.
Yes.
And so, guess what? I mean, I don't know. I don't have an opinion one way or another on candidates or people or personalities or anything like that, but I can tell you that that's not going to happen. That is totally off the table at this point. So I think we're safe there.
So I'm sorry. Can I just go back for a second? And yes, you're correct. There's going to be no taxation on unrealized capital gains. And can I just take a step back for a second? And I'm going to get on the soapbox. How monumentally stupid is that as an idea? Like, I don't know what dumb jackass thought that that was a good idea to say. So are they then going to penalize me? Or this is like Minority Report, where I'm going to go to jail for thinking about killing somebody,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now they're taxing me for my thoughts. They're taxing me for make believe bullshit that doesn't actually exist in reality. Well, since we live in the matrix, I guess it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying, as a rule, like if I'm going to be taxed, I should be taxed on something real and tangible, not made up bullshit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting off my soapbox now. Thank you for letting me.
You got anything else you want to get out today?
Thank you for letting me vent on that. But yes, you are correct. I don't think that's a danger in the next 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is I don't know, that just the thought of that stresses me out. I mean, that's even
Absurd.
what a catastrophe. That would just been an absolute catastrophe. You're talking about sending, I mean, half the country into bankruptcy. I mean, honestly, that's
It's
just so crazy.
that's
But
Now, along government overreach, just want to take a little segue to something we've mentioned in prior podcast episode, though, is the requirement to provide your LLC business information, LLC, S corp, whatever it might be, your business information to Big Brother, the government. So that's still in place. And remember, you have to do that for businesses existing prior to January 1, 2024. You have until January 1st, 2025 in order to do that. All right. So I'm just letting you, that's still in place. There's lots of lawsuits going on about that, by the way, just FYI. I don't know the status of any of that, and I don't know if Trump and that new will even do anything with that law. I mean, that was passed, 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't know, but I'm just making that a note that just as a FYI, just keep that in mind. Like you could face penalties if you don't meet that requirement by January 1st,
big
twenty
time
twenty five.
penalties
And
too.
just
You're even
so in
jail
full in
time.
transparency, well, and it's I don't know, it's some ridiculous. It's like I don't even know where wasn't it like $579 a day or some, I don't know. It's some
Yeah.
nonsense
Yeah.
number there. This and remember, this is the Corporate Transparency Act, which is to stop money laundering. And the law has no hope of doing that, by the way. But that's okay. Whatever. Big Brother can have all my information. Hence the reason to use land trusts for privacy when you're doing real estate transactions. All right. Sorry, Mr. Coffman. Just wanted
Yeah.
to put that out there as my PSA, the public service announcement for today.
I think that's so low on the list of issues that I think that's probably just going to be.
Yeah,
I don't know. You just never know. It's just you just never know if somebody gets a wild hair and one of these lawsuits actually does produce some results in our favor or in business owners' favor, then maybe. But I just think it's so low in the lexicon. It's just like that's not. That's probably not. It's probably never even really been talked about. You know, as far as this new administration that's coming in, but
yeah,
but yeah,
I will say that you're probably right. And remember, this was a law passed by Congress too, by the way.
right.
So I'm not even sure how the logistics. They might be able to delay it or something. I don't know, but I will say this: Trump is a businessman, right? And he understands business, and he understands there needs to be an environment conducive to allowing people to do business, right? And in our case, real estate transactions. And so the less he certainly, and he proved this in his first 4 years, the less regulation, the better. Now, people can't be cheating and stealing from people, obviously, but the less regulation that exists and red tape people have to do, it then allows people to go out there and conduct their business, right? So I do think that we might, I don't know, there's definitely going to be an environment, or he's definitely going to suggest there be an environment of less regulation and less red tape so that people can conduct business. So
How do you feel about the regulation in the rental markets that's been going on across the country? Like, there's, it's not going to be, I don't think we're going to see that necessarily. We might see it in local cities here, but I don't think we're going to see something like that statewide, where like in, the Northeast United States, that is the law of the land. There's so much regulation, so many people, so many you know, investors that are just they're just having their asses handed to them up there. It's crazy. But what do you see? I guess I'll give you my prediction. You give me yours. I think I think that rental regulations um, probably going to stay about the same. I don't know that it's necessarily going to increase, just to given the political environment that we have now. But I certainly don't see it going away. I don't think it's going to go away. There may be a little bit of easing in it, but I don't think it's going to go away entirely. So I guess that's my opinion. Some of you folks out there in some of those states that are doing that right now, I think you either better get used to it or you better start thinking about investing somewhere else.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. So the rental regulations and rent controls and the red tape and the occupancy inspections that nothing but corruption and all that stuff as it relates to being like a straight landlord is very state specific and even municipality specific in a
Mhm.
lot of areas, city specific. So I don't think that's going to go away. Uh, and if you happen to live in the polarization between everyone says the blue states and the red states, right? The Democrat liberal states and the more conservative Republican states, right? It's probably going to get worse before it gets better. The polarization of it too. So I agree. I mean, if you're getting regulated to death in the Northeast or any really along any of the coast, man, you should do business. Like for instance, if you're in Maryland, I know there's a bunch of regulations in Maryland. Maybe you ought to think about going down and opening your investing business in North Carolina. I mean, either that or you got to change your business model, and maybe you should do maybe you look to do seller financing and wraps and contracts for deeds and all stuff. And there's regulations around that and laws around that are state specific as well too. But it's probably not as nearly regulated as it is for the straight rental and even rent controls and all that stuff on there too. So I
Yeah, I just
think
wish
it
those
get worse
places.
before it gets better. Yeah,
Yeah,
in some of those states.
I just wish that some of those places would allow for a correction, like just allow the correction to happen naturally. Because there's no way with the rise in rents, what you would see is like any other correction in the market. You would just see people can't afford them. They'll get into these rental properties. They can't afford them. Then you have this big wave of evictions, and then all of this, maybe not even evictions, but certainly court filings, because a lot of times somebody gets into a rental property, and I'm going to use Washington as example because I've got partners up there that every time they open their mouth about landlording and their rental business, my mouth my jaw just drops. It's like,
Yeah,
you guys deal with what? Like, you've
yeah,
got to be kidding me. But um, I just think just allowing that to correct itself and let it run its natural course. I think I'm a capitalist, so I just think that would be the wisest thing to do. People will learn their lessons.
yeah,
Landlords will learn their lessons about pricing their rental properties. Uh, Tenants would learn their lessons about what they can actually afford. They may even learn their lessons about where they choose to live. You know,
yeah.
so I don't know. I just the more they mess with it, the worse it gets, and that's anything across the board.
That is correct.
Yeah,
You say that louder and prouder. The more the government puts their hands on anything, the more screwed up it gets,
yeah,
for
and
sure.
expensive. Yeah,
100%.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess next thing really the next thing I want to talk about is where do you see inflation? I mean, I think we're already kind of. I mean, this is very, very early. We're not even 4 days out from, 3 days out from, well, 2 days from the actual results. But I don't know. I paid. I'm sure there's other folks out here that are watching this from other states, but here $3 a gallon was very expensive gas, very, very expensive. And the other day I saw a jump. This is actually Wednesday, not a jump, a decrease in gas prices. And this another thing too. I go out here and I sometimes I'll read through, I'll be flipping through social media or what have you, and I see these people talking about, in particular in the Facebook, the investing Facebook groups. I like to browse those and I get a kick out of those. But I see people arguing about material pricing, and none of them, it seems like, eventually you'll have someone that actually understands what they're talking about, but none of them understand that this is all tied to energy, all of it, the whole basis of. I mean, if you look at that crazy pricing we had during COVID, I mean, you're talking about a sheet of plywood would run you, $110 for a sheet of plywood. It's nuts, and that all had to do 100% with energy. And and not, maybe not during COVID. Maybe during COVID you had some staffing issues and things like that. Things became more expensive, um, but the other day I paid $2.38 for a gallon of gas, and I'm not happy about that either. I'm definitely not, because I think what they do. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what they do is they inject a bunch of cash into the markets. Of course, that it causes inflation, and now our gas prices increase. By the way, also our housing prices increase when they do that. Uh, Much of the appreciation that we've seen in the housing market over the past 3 years, 4 years, has been due to inflation. But what they do is they kind of get you. They throw all this cash into the market. Gas prices go up to, exponentially. They double, which is what they almost what they did,
Yeah.
at least in our market. And then they kind of like, they tease you with this inflation, a drop in inflation. They tease you with these lower gas prices that are still like, 50% higher than what they were prior to any of this taking place. But now you're happy to pay that. Now you're like, okay, this is cool. Like I can pay $2.38 for a gallon of gas, knowing that it's, I'm feeling grateful as I'm sitting there pumping, but knowing that, what, just 4 years ago I was paying $1.89. I don't know. It's like this mental conditioning. I think this is my conspiratorial side coming out. This mental conditioning that that we have to now accept this new pricing, and there's nothing that can be done about it. And yeah, that's my conspiratorial stuff coming out. But I don't think that's what we're going to see with the. I don't think we're necessarily going to see that with housing, though, for sure.
So, yeah. So let's take a step back. What you said is exactly right. So we're going to call that the classic bait and switch, right? So it's like when you go into the car dealership, right? The car dealership is nothing but the classic bait and switch. You can buy this car for nothing down and $189 a month, but only if you meet the 78,413 qualifications.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like the bait and switch. You're exactly right. Gas prices go up to $4 a gallon, and then they condition you to feel good about paying $2.75 a gallon, when the real price should be $1.99.
Right.
So it's kind of the same thing with inflation. So the people, and the Democrats were saying, well, we got inflation under control. There's nothing under control about the inflation. The fact that the inflation for the last 12-month period or 6-month period or whatever contrived bullshit number that they're reporting is nonsense, because the prior 12-month period it was up 15%, and the prior 12-month period to that it was up 12%.
Yeah.
So 2% increase on a 12% increase on a 50, and I'm just making those numbers up, but everyone knows whatever they were, whatever the double-digit increases were. The 2% on the 12% it's a compounding effect, and people don't seem to be able to do that. And even the experts that we think are supposed to be smart enough running the economy don't even get that, right? And so how do you fix that, right? Why did that happen? Well, what you said is exactly why it happened. You cannot print money endlessly without consequence. it devalues it devalues all the other currency in circulation. And this is a true fact. The United States has printed more money in the last 4 years, more bills than in their entire previous history. True fact. When you're printing so much money, what do you expect is going to happen?
Yeah, I have this this same conversation with some folks in my, maybe some family members or something, but they just people. If you look at it, if you just take it, if you replace dollars with something else, if let's say that's cars, since you brought up cars. If I said, Ken, um, I'm gonna give you this car, you're like, great, and you don't have a car. Let's say you don't have a car. You're like, great, I really needed this car. This is awesome. But if I said, Ken, I'm gonna give you 40 cars. You're gonna be like, well, what the hell am I gonna do with all these cars? I mean, it's the same concept.
Yep.
It's every car that I add on to your tally is going to be worth less to you, and it's just the same concept.
Yep.
I don't. That's basic economics, really. I don't really need to. I just like to explain it that way because I don't think people they think that they're for some reason they think that somehow these prices just kind of imaginarily, or if that's even a word, they just kind of naturally increase, and but that's not it's not what's going on here. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a wild thing. I'm a big fan of like uh, the Austrian school in economics. I really do. I really can't appreciate that, and I'm really hopeful, again, that this administration can surround themselves with people that at least understand a little bit about Austrian economics and how it affects how printing affects the value of every dollar. So, and like I just said, man, a lot of these people think that their houses have appreciated in value. No, they haven't. They absolutely have not. It's all tied to inflation. I mean, if you live in an area that is, there's a lot of good, uh, uh, municipal projects going on, and the area is really up and coming, and you kind of have some of that natural appreciation. The rest of us, no, it's 100% inflation that is causing these housing prices to be where they're at. Like I say, it's not 100%. It's not 100% inflation's fault. And I wouldn't even consider it bad if you had actual value being added to a particular property. But we depreciate properties. We depreciate them for a reason. So if the day that that you close upon a house, you start the depreciation, 27 and a half years of depreciation. So what that means, if you really sit back and think about it, is, okay, this piece of wood, this compilation, this pile of wood that I've just constructed and pieced together into this building, it doesn't become worth more just because it's been built and completed. You depreciate it because it becomes worth less, because over a period of time things start to fail with it. And yeah, I don't know. I know I'm sounding preachy right about now, but I just some of what we hear out there, I think, especially like in if we go to like some of these guru conferences or RIAs or something, people talk about appreciation. And by and large, there's really not much appreciation going on. It's all inflationary spending. That's what it is.
Yes. Now, can you position yourself to take advantage of that? Sure.
Yeah.
But you just have to understand what's really going on there, right? And maybe let's just pull it all together, right? So the 2020, the Sub 2 Empire 2025 market one, so we think it's going to be a really strong real estate market moving into the spring, right? Just for all the positive economic things that we've already seen, and the Fed cut interest rates, and we're now if nothing else, we will have personnel in the government that is strong with the economy, like much more than the clown show we've had for 4 years, but 100%. So all those things point to a strong economy, especially with the real estate. right? So we're gonna get some stuff balanced out there. We suggest, like, as Jeff is a buy and hold guy, like we're buying whole guys. Maybe you consider switching yourself from a landlord to seller financing model, kind of like we do. I mean, maybe you consider that. Like, you can also switch yourself from a landlord to a note lord. Like, you can sell your rental property to another investor, right? You can sell it. Hey, maybe you want to seller finance that to us,
Hey,
right?
look at that. I love
Just
that
like,
idea.
put that in the comments, especially if you got a nice fourplex, eightplex, whatever you got working. Like you said, so we can convert you from a landlord to a note lord. That's a whole another podcast. But all that stuff. So maybe you want to consider that. And by the way, we think flips are going to be really strong next year. Like, so if that's your business model, or maybe, like we said, maybe instead of doing one or two like we do, maybe we're going to up it to three or four next year, right? Just to take advantage of what's going on there. And maybe you want to get that flip under contract before December 31st,
Maybe,
2024.
maybe you want to do that.
Maybe. Just
Yeah,
saying. Those are
I
some.
do love the idea of honestly, seller finance is not that scary. I just did a talk uh, about a month ago, and it was all about seller finance. Super vanilla topic. Like, ton of people seller finance their properties. I just think it's with the rent controls and the rent regulation. I think that I think we're going to see a little bit of a ceiling that's going to be hit there as far as rents go. Now, definitely there are advantages to having rental properties over seller finance properties, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So you would have to weigh that out for sure. But uh, the buyer market for real estate is not going away. It's going to be continuing into 2025 and beyond. I
Yeah.
just can't see. I just can't see there being of course, you never know. You never know, but I can't see there being a downturn, at least for the next year. And
Yeah.
so,
For sure.
moving into that seller finance model, where you have just a massive pool of buyers who are out of their minds trying to find a house at a at a or just finding a house just because the inventory is sold up. I think it would be a wise thing to, at the very least, do some research on, look into. And shameless plug here, if you guys are thinking about that and you decide you wanted to take a look at that, go check us out over at Sub 2 Empire. This is what we do every single day. This is my personal business model. This is what I do. I buy properties creatively, as many as I can creatively, and I turn around and I sell or finance those properties to deserving home buyers.
Yep.
Yep. All right,
100.
man. What else you got?
That's it. I think it's probably time to wrap up this week, and we'll look forward to next week. We are planning out the rest of the year on the podcast, so we'll hopefully be doing that. And then, of course, we'll the week of Thanksgiving there'll be no podcast, right? Unless you want to work on the on the weekend. But I think we'll probably take a break then, but we'll come back strong, and then we'll also try and align some guests up. And also, too, let us know in the comments if you see this now or you see the recording of this, too. Let us know in the comments what topics you want us to talk about. By all means, we have not forgotten about the novation versus assignment that a person had asked about, one of our aberrant art, one of our raving fans on YouTube. And so we will certainly do that here in the next couple of weeks, probably. But let us know what you want to talk about, and we will make it happen.
That's right. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. We will catch you guys next week right here, 11 a.m. Central. Wherever you found us at, we'll be right back here at 11 a.m. Central, and any subsequent